Greetings once again to the Biblical Hermeneutics students here at Southeastern University. This is your instructor, Dr. Larry Asplund, coming to you at the end of week 1 and the beginning of week 2. I wanted to be able to stop by and welcome you, because we have an 8-week intensive course. Our weeks and our modules are the same thing. And so this is module 2, it's week 2. And I wanted to be able to stop by this evening and give you a sense of where we are in our course and what it is that we expect to be accomplishing in the coming week in Module 2. The theme of Module 2 is learning to survey the text. So in this case, we're catching the bird's eye view. We're looking overall at the text, specifically the section of Ephesians that you chose during week 1, during module 1, and you're looking to make some observations about that specific passage of Scripture. And so we're starting out getting the big picture. But while we're getting the big picture, we're asking some specific questions that will then lead you into the next step of your study, of your research, of your exegesis of your passage. So the aim, the objective for us in Module 2, first of all, remember there is a very excellent written introduction that you definitely want to read and pay attention to. It is a really important survey, a summary really of what it is we're going to be doing in Module 2. We have some very important learning objectives. Number 1, to identify preliminary interpretive questions, to ask about that biblical passage that you have chosen. Number 2, to recognize and employ an inductive method to survey a biblical passage, which means that we're starting to take apart the specific pieces that we are observing about the passage, and eventually we will draw some big ideas from it. Number 3, to recognize and employ the tools necessary in observing biblical sentences and paragraphs. So we're going to start already in week 2 to give you specific tools that you will need to be a great exegete of Scripture. Number 4, to discuss selected headings for studying a passage, which is kind of an outlining exercise. Also very important. I think you will discover that coming up with a great outline for a passage is hugely important. And then number 5, to create a list of observations about your text. So having asked specific questions about your text, you want to be able to have a list of questions and a list of observations that will guide you in your further study. Some very important resources for us in Module 2. Please plan on reading chapters 3, 4, and 5 in Scott McKnight's excellent little book. And then chapter 3, I think you will find that Michael Gorman's text is kind of the bedrock. It's centrally important to what we're doing together in this class. So read chapter 3 this coming week, and then you will have another review outline section to take a look at how do you read paragraphs, and a second review, how do you read sentences. Now, these are the tool learning, the skills learning reviews, and they will end up being very, very important for your work in Module 2. So here are the graded assignments this coming week. First of all, you have another discussion forum. And here is our prompt for the discussion forum. Come up with the headings within the chapter that your passage of study is in. And so this is the outlining exercise that you're going to do. These headings should be succinct and brief, statements that cover what you believe to be the main point of the passage. And so being able to outline again the passage is going to be so important for you. Make sure that you give the verses that correspond to the section your heading is in. And you should have at least 3 headings. Now, some of you probably have chosen longer passages. Some may be a little bit shorter. But I think it's pretty easy to have at least 3 headings kind of in your outline. And then you are allowed to do more if you want to. There is, as always true in every module, very detailed discussion instructions that really unpack this assignment for you in detail. So I recommend that you look at all of that, read all of that before you jump into the discussion. As usual, we're asking you to post your original ideas there, this original study of your section. by the end of the day on Saturday to give time to have a real conversation. And of course, as always, the assignment is due by the end of the day next Tuesday. You also have a document that you're going to be composing and then submitting at the link that is provided for you. The exercise, the document, is called Learning to Survey the Text, which once again is the big idea for Module 2. In order to apply what was learned this week in learning to survey the text, you're going to create a list of observations about your text. So you're really going to begin to reflect, focus very, very specifically on your chosen text. And you're going to be asking questions, and you're going to be observing the key ideas that are being made, even the smaller ideas that seem to be surfacing in your mind as you read and reflect. So in order to do so, create a list of at least 25 observations about the text in Ephesians that you selected. This list should include some of the main questions you learned about in the video: who, what, where, when, why, and how. That's the usual, the list of questions that you ask. Kind of, if you have an outline on a sheet of paper, with these questions, just dive into it and begin to ask those questions of your text. You should have at least 2 questions about your text within each of the 5 W's: who, what, why, where, when, and why, and an H as well as any other observations, educated guesses. Something may stand out on you. An individual word may stand out in your mind as you reflect and meditate on your passage. So you're just beginning to look at the details of your chosen text, asking key questions that will guide you going forward as you begin to develop more specific exegetical skills. Once again, very important, detailed assignment instructions are given to you on our site, our course site. So be sure to read those before you jump into at least before you submit your final document for a grade. There is also another assignment that is called Writing an Introduction. It's rough draft number 1. So you're literally beginning to compose small pieces of what will be your exegetical paper. This is going to be a rough draft, so it's not designed to be the final draft that you will then insert into your exegetical paper. This is just getting you started. So what are you going to do with this document before you submit it? First of all, you will briefly explain your reason for selecting your passage for your study out of all the other passages. Why did it stand out in your mind? Why do you think it's important? What's your rationale for selecting that passage? And next, briefly state the thesis of your study. This is what you think the bottom line conclusion is going to be when it comes to the work you're going to do with that passage. What you initially believed to be the main idea of the passage. So you're just kind of getting started. It may be a work in progress for you as you go along, but as you begin, what do you think is the main idea? Finally, of course, indent and type out the passage in single space. There is a sample paper provided for visual aid, but this is, I think it's just common sense. You're not going to write something out on a napkin and take a picture of it. This is a paper that you're submitting that I will have the privilege of grading for you. Once again, detailed assignment instructions. You want to be sure to read over those certainly before you submit a paper to me for grading. Once again, you will have a very, very simple 10-question open book, open notes, 30-minute quiz over the content of the week. It's a review opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to kind of jump in and say, okay, what do you remember to be true? By the way, these little quizzes are important because they will all add up together in a final exam at the end. A final quiz, a big one, that will be kind of a combination. So do take the assignment seriously and take the time to review and then to do the quiz. As always, as is true with all of our assignments, they're due by the end of the day on Tuesday. I just love the idea of learning how to observe the text, to get the big picture of what it is that you're reading, what you think the bottom line is, what the key ideas are, sometimes the key words. And so you're going to start your exegetical process this week. I know you're going to enjoy it. You're going to love it because you chose a passage in Ephesians simply because it stood out for some reason in your mind as being important. And so this is where we start. You're going to learn important tools for hermeneutics, for biblical exegesis this week, and just begin to take those tools apart, begin to use them one at a time. I'm certainly looking forward to sharing the week with you, looking forward to interacting with you, certainly to observing your good work. As always, if you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to let me know. God bless you, everybody. Just have a great week 2.